Good afternoon, everyone. I'm joined today by an interviewee for our International Day of People with a Disability 2020. As you can probably imagine, this year's celebration of International Day of People with Disabilities is somewhat curtailed compared to what we would normally do up here at Greater Shepparton. So this year we've decided to interview a local person with a disability. So without further ado, I'll ask Peter, would you mind introducing yourself?
Hello there, viewers. My name's Peter O'Connor.
Yeah. Peter, how long have you lived in Shepparton?
About 12 and a half years.
Okay, and before that you lived down on the coast?
I was in the outer east of Melbourne for 36 years.
Okay, not all. How long have you lived with a vision impairment for?
For about 26 years.
Okay. Was it a sudden loss of vision or a gradual
gradual deterioration?
Okay. Okay. I noticed from discussions before this interview and also a little bit of stalking you on LinkedIn that you've had a pretty interesting job history over the years. Can we talk a little bit about your job history? I noticed among many things you've worked in telecommunications and also as a radio announcer.
Okay, so going back to the early 80s through to the 90s and 2000s, I started off working for the RAPS program, which is Remote Area Power Scheme, project of Tasmania, New South Wales and Victoria, and also the South Pacific. From there, I branched out into electrotechnology in solar power and renewable energy, and one of my last jobs, that job incidentally lasted 25 years before the eyesight got to an extent where I couldn't work in that industry as much as I wanted to. From there, then I installed pay TV for a while, and in amongst all that, I also became a radio announcer for Radio Eastern, Vision Australia Radio, Radio Australia, panel operating, and doing community service work from about 2004 up to the present point of time.
Can I ask what drew you to becoming a radio host?
I wanted to talk to other people. I was trying to make new friends, and I'd always enjoyed music and the arts, and I just wanted to share my knowledge and talk to people. I think, and if you love the people, it comes across on air.
Yeah, okay. This year's theme for our International Day of People with a Disability event is ableism. Do you think we talk about ableism and empowerment enough in the disability and access and inclusion space?
Well, they're two pretty big words, Mark. Empowerment, and then you have ableism. So if you're really able to do something, or if it's something that you really want to do, like for myself, for example, I'd like to see America before all the eyesight goes, and I definitely want to learn how to fly. Okay. So to become able to do that, first you have to cater for your disability and looking at what you can do and what you can't do. Realistically, I can't fly a plane by myself yet at this stage because of the restrictions that CASA has on someone with a disability, and you have to know your own disability fairly well to operate an aircraft, to know what you can do and what you can't do. So you have to be fairly disciplined. To be empowered to do something that you really want to do, just keep that dream alive. If it's something you really want to do, like ride a bike, then you should be allowed, you should be allowed to be able to do that. If that answers your question.
It certainly does. Two questions spring to mind. The first one is, when you're flying an aircraft, do you have to have a sighted pilot with you?
Oh, absolutely, by law, absolutely.
Okay. So what's their role, if you don't mind me asking?
That's okay. If I miss out on, there are 6 primary instruments for flying. If I miss out on reading, say, for example, the heading, because with my kind of vision, I can't see distance too well. For my approach with the runway, it has to be bang on every time. So if there's something I'm going to miss, the pilot will pick that up pretty quick, and he could say, approach, use more throttle, or approach to the right, or approach to the left, so what I should and what I shouldn't be doing.
Okay, so they're more as a backup to you.
Oh, absolutely. But you have to start with the basics, and it's a work up to thing. So,
yes. Okay. Can I also ask, what attracted you to learn to fly? I mean, of all the things you could have chosen to do, what's attracted you to learning to fly?
Yes, one word, Mark: freedom. And it was the same with scuba diving.
Okay.
If you put a wetsuit on, yes, and a scuba diving outfit, yep, you're there in the water, and you can be free. You can do somersaults, you can go up, down, around, and it's a bit like flying. It's like inner space and outer space. So they're the two similar characteristics that I wanted to sort of do. Floating on water is great, and going under the water is absolutely fantastic because you can see all the fish, the reefs. Diving on shipwrecks, I've dived in Vanuatu, and I could go on about that, but I won't here. But flying is I've always wanted to control the aircraft, banking, pitch, yaw, looking at what the instruments are doing, and you have to be very focused when you're flying. You have to think 2 or 3 steps ahead of what you're doing.
Okay. Interestingly enough, the next question was going to be what attracted you to scuba diving, but you've answered that rather succinctly for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask what, because you tend to not do things by half, what attracted you to not only getting your scuba diving qualifications, but working your way up to becoming a master scuba diver? Because as I understand it, you're the only person who is vision impaired in Victoria who has that qualification.
At the time I was, and you have to remember this is going right back to 1995, 1996. Mm-hmm. There's probably 3 or 4 others by now that I do know of that have actually come up to that category of diving. You have a set goal. I don't know if your viewers out there are aware of SMART goals, but I like to start something and then I like to finish it. I hate seeing a half-done project. I like to, if you're going to install a solar system for your house, you've got to start it and then you've got to finish it. So you'd have a foundation and then you would finish off your project. And it's pretty much like that in radio as well, or making a video, or whatever it is you want to do. You have before, during, and after phases.
Okay. So for you, it's basically finding something you want to do, and then working out what steps you have to take in order to achieve that goal.
Oh, absolutely. So you'd have a goal first. For example, I want to see America, right? Then you'd have a strategy to get to that goal.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully we're allowed to travel back to America in 2021. So that will be good.
Yeah.
Can I touch a little bit on a few of the challenges that you've had and you've had to overcome living with a vision impairment or a barrier?
Well, in the last, I suppose, this has been a very challenging year. And in the last 6 months or so, everything to do with corona is very visual. For example, you've got crosses on the floor, you've got entry, exit, you've got the 4 points of staying away from a person, wearing face masks. When you wear a face mask, it takes away some of the smell. If you're vision impaired and you're going through a supermarket and you can't see too well, you're quite often using your hearing, you're quite often using a sense of smell, your sense of direction. But if one of those senses is covered up, then you often have to guess, or quite often have a sighted guide to help you get what it is that you want. Mm-hmm. Some of the obstacles I've come across, for example, yesterday, they've changed the buses around here in Shepparton. I was waiting for the Archer Street bus, and of course it didn't turn up. And my son turned up and he said, "Dad, the buses have moved." I said, "Oh, I forgot about that." And I had trouble getting to the new bus interchange because I didn't know where it was. Okay. So I tried to get a taxi home. The first taxi driver I got, he didn't want to take the guide dog because he thought that he might get corona from it. I tried to talk to the taxi driver. He said, "I'm sorry, me no take no dog. I'm sorry." And he took off. The second taxi driver came up and it was somebody that I knew. "Oh yes, hello Jimmy, hello Peter, no problem." And he took the guide dog and I came back and it was all good. So just small challenges like that. But look, viewers, it's your attitude towards it. If you want to be angry at the world, you're not going to get anywhere in a hurry. So you have to take little bits at a time and just chill.
That segues very nicely into our next question. Do you have any advice for people living with a disability?
Well, it's a very big topic and a very big area to sort of cover because, as you know, there are several different kinds of disability, but the biggest disability coming out of 2020 is the more psychological disability, and everyone's under stress. So the only advice that I could offer is just take 1 or 2 or 3 small steps at a time, a quarter of a day at a time. Just focus on yourself, look after yourself, stay safe, and just be thankful, I think, for what we've got. Because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of worse people out there than what you've got.
And the last question I have is, do you have any advice for people caring for people with a disability, or anyone who might come across someone with a disability?
Yeah, it's pretty hard. Just give them time and give them space, especially, as I say, with people like, that have, say, autism, Usher syndrome, people who can't comprehend all of this corona material properly because everything changes. Just give them time, give them space, and be patient with the carers, be patient with the people you're trying to care for, because it's not easy for any of us. And gradually things should sort of get back to sort of normal characteristics.
Yeah, and for people like yourself who need all 5 of your senses working as much as possible, I'm guessing you're looking forward to us not having to wear masks anymore moving into the future.
Well, that would be good. I mean, I suppose I'd rather wear a mask than get the virus. We did have it here in Shepparton, and Shepparton's a great place to live. It really is, and I'm very grateful to be here. I've got a son here as well. I just think that wearing a mask is something that we don't need, because when people communicate, you can't see a smile through a mask. Deaf people can't lip read through a mask, and quite often vision impaired people, you need to listen closer to what people are saying through a mask. So it's not easy, but it's a challenging year, Mark. It's a very challenging year.
It certainly has been a challenging year, I think, for everybody, and particularly people working in the aged and disability spaces, it most certainly has been a challenging year. So, those were the main questions I had for you for this interview for International Day of People with Disability, Peter. Do you have any other comments you'd like to add?
Well, the only other comment that I could probably just say is just believe in yourself, stay focused, and if you really want to do something, you can do it. If you really want to do something like play music or I seen a gentleman earlier this week on LinkedIn that could drive an excavator because he had that excavator modified for people on the NDIS system, and he could actually now go and do his job because he had that modification done, and everyone was saying he couldn't do it. Well, he has achieved the goal. So for something you really want to do, like sailing or riding a horse, it could be simple, just reading a bill, using a speech program. For something you really want to do, go for it. Ask. Don't be afraid to ask, and just believe in yourself. Give yourself a go. That's my advice.
I like your advice, and I take that advice on a very regular basis, as Peter and a lot of people here at work know. So I can wholeheartedly endorse what Peter is saying. Anyway, that
well, Mark, yep.
Go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say, well, Mark, one early morning, I actually met you on a train, and here we are talking.
We are.
And you're on my LinkedIn. God bless you.
If I remember that day correctly, Peter, your dog had put you in the seat and then belly crawled across the carriage in his harness, looking for a pat.
Yes.
Yes, and I had to ask you, excuse me, sir, your dog is in harness. Do you mind if I pat that dog? So,
that's right. That's okay. I'll always ask, and I'm quite sure they'll either say yes or no.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. I agree. Anyway, that basically finishes up the interview for us today, Peter. So I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank you very much for your time. And I'll just say again that I wish we could have done this interview face-to-face and live at an event for International Day of People with Disabilities. So anyway, thank you very much for your time, Peter.
Anytime at all.